Welcome everyone. Welcome guys. Gabs here, Digital Beer Stream. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. I hope you are having a great time. If you're at home, if you go to work, anything you do. Welcome to Digital Beer Streams. This is one of the What's in the Glass last longing activities, digital activities in here. What we're trying to do is very simple, right? We are trying to entertain you with decent and interesting beer-related chats. I say beer, but it could easily be about hospitality in general. The reason because we're doing that is because we are a team of passionate people. That's the name of the team. What's in the Glass? You can see it from here. Turning the Tide is another project of what we're doing. I've been working in the beer industry for a while, and I think, I would say 10 years now. Couple of years in Italy, then moving to the UK. In the UK, I have managed to work in some incredible places with some incredible people. I think this is one of the most challenging times ever for our planet, for our society, definitely for our industry. And we're trying to give voice and we're trying to speak with as many different people we can, so then we can try to have the largest possible, understanding of all of the different sides of the industry itself. When you're working for the beer industry, you're always trying to, support your friends, support realities that you believe on. And again, it's a beautiful word. Sometimes you go in a festival in Brussels or in Milan, or I'm sure in Asia as well, or somewhere in Latin America, you find friends, people that you met at previous festival, people that you met somewhere else. So when we're talking about beer, and especially craft beer, there isn't such a thing like, borders and differences. We're all here because we like the elements, we like the liquid, we like all the people that are making this industry great. And again, we will need to support each other. We need to understand how to have better beers, how to have better places, and how to have more people jumping within our industry. This is key for us. So we try to do different things, as I said. Turning the Tide is another project of us. You can find all the information on the website, and you can find all the information in our socials. So we're not talking about that right now, despite the fact, as I said, have a look at these beautiful t-shirts, which is going to help our project. Today we're here because we want to talk about hops. If you're familiar with what beer is, you definitely have an understanding that hops is one of the 4 key ingredients in probably most of our beers. I don't say all, just say most, but pretty much all of beers. And the reason because we are chatting with Luke today, the guest that we're having today, is because he's working for one of the key companies that is making possible to the world, I would say, to have beautiful beers like, I don't necessarily say this, but definitely these kind of styles. And I'm going to drink a beer which is called Hop Salad from Hate Wired, donated by a beautiful soul called Adi that works for the New Zealand Beer Collective. So thanks a lot, Adi. And we're going to talk with Luke, which is leading the European team and for Yakima Chief Hops. Now, we're going to ask him everything about what he's doing, what the company is about, and if you have questions about hops or a question about what he's doing, you can ask him right now. So if you just help me to say welcome to Luke. Hello, mate.
Hey, guys.
How you doing? Nice t-shirt as well.
That's fine. You literally caught me pouring a beer.
That's brilliant. That's what we want, So I do the same. I'm trying also to stay, to having a glass which is representing the cult of hops as well. This is called Juice Bomb, so there is a reason for it. Welcome, thanks a lot for being here. It has been also almost like kind of a last minute call, so thanks a lot, man. I'm still learning how to be perfectly organized, and it's a progressing game. And how are you? How have you been so far? Is everything fine?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a weird coming up for a year now, to be honest. I don't know. It's difficult to find other words than weird, to be honest. It's since I joined YCH, we've become very, very used to this kind of the online environment and things like that. It's a lot of kind of great events like this happening. I've really enjoyed what you've been doing right the way through last year, and glad that it's carried on through this year as well. But yeah, it's very, very strange having colleagues that I work with on a day-to-day basis that I've never met as well, which is it's a new one on me. I'm a very sociable person, so kind of screens took a bit of getting used to.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to writing articles to try to understand with other people and other like, let's say, people that are working with tech in general, if we're going to have this more in the future, or if it's something that is probably going to go away, and we can then come back fully to real life. But you here to testimony the fact that working with bigger teams placed in different parts of the world, I mean, this is just make things easier sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got, so like our European team is stretched across, we've got like our main hub and our warehouse is in Belgium. We've got people in Edinburgh, people in London, we got people in Poland, we got people based in Sweden. It's like, it's a great way, like this kind of tool I don't think is going to go away, for certainly not for businesses like ours. It's a great way of kind of communicating and being all in one place, and it means that we can meet, for want of a better word, and have a beer or jump on a meeting and things like that. I mean, we're a remote working company for the most part anyway, with the exception of our Belgian team anyway.
Sure. Well, I know you quite well because you are a very respectful person within the industry in London, in the UK. I'm sure in Europe as well. And maybe you don't need presentation to them, but definitely if you would like to introduce yourself and tell her who you are, and also what is Yakima Chief Hops just after it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been knocking around the industry for about 15 years now. Originally came through the wine industry, trained up, did a lot of wine education, did some sommelier stuff back in the day. Then about 10 years ago, maybe 10, 11 years ago, kind of really hit me how incredible some of the modern beer that was happening in and around from Belgium and from Germany, and kind of cropping up in the UK as well. And I knew that I needed to kind of change industry from there. So I worked for BrewDog for about 5 years, doing the online shop and the like direct retail stuff, some digital marketing work with those guys. Excellent bunch of guys. Then for the last few years, I've been the just manager for beer merchants, so the website, overseeing the physical venues, the excellent Beer Merchants Tap in Hackney, and like the festival program. And now, like you said, I'm the marketing lead for Europe for our Yakima Chief. And to give just the real quick one-liner on Yakima Chief, so we're the world's biggest grower-owned hop supplier. We're a network of like multi-generational family hop farms in the Pacific Northwest. So Washington, mostly in the Yakima Valley, obviously, but Washington, Oregon, Idaho. We've got like some of our farms go back to the 1800s, and like the original farmers in the Willamette Valley and these kind of places. But we're kind of unlike a lot of other hop merchants. We're a co-op. We're a co-op owned by the farmers themselves, with a very, very clear mission statement that was put in place, and that is to connect family hop farms with the world's finest brewers. And wow. And that's what we try and do.
I've been watching a lot of the material that is foundable on the YouTube channel. I always love the approach that US-based companies does have on contemporary media, and there are some introductive, beautiful videos that are actually explaining what's happening over there. And I remember this video, I was watching it before with my wife, and you can see like entire hop vines conducted into machines where the hops could be separated, and then after it arriving in a sort of big vessel. That is just insane. Is there anything like that in UK or probably just in Belgium, as you mentioned before?
Well, I mean, there's a long history of hop picking in Kent as well. It's not, I'm not going to say it's on the same scale as Yakima, but yeah, absolutely. You've got like Poppering in Belgium. You've got the whole of like the Hallertau in Germany. You've got a whole load of hop growing regions in the Czech Republic and into Eastern Europe as well. But yeah, like the scale of some of those picking machines it's pretty immense, to be honest.
Wow. Well, this gives you also an idea about how much beer is requiring all of those hops, right? And some people probably don't realize that, you can't really just have hops, especially if you're looking for a specific flavor profile or aroma profile. There's going to be breweries that are going to look for some specific products out there, some specific flowers out there. And, again, I'm sure the request of these hops is now worldwide. Like, it could be then a brewery in Thailand is looking for a hop that is produced in some of the areas you just mentioned before in the US, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got, as well as our main hub in Washington, we've got, and the Belgian one, we've got a hub in Hong Kong as well. We've got there's a lot of really, really exciting breweries in Asia these days. Like, it's an emerging scene for sure, but like some super, super passionate brewers out there and some really exciting beer coming out of that.
Wow. And it's probably the US is still the biggest market for Yakima Chief, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, to put it in real simple terms, they're 25 years ahead of us. Like, just the scene in general. Like, we've got hundreds of years of brewing tradition in Europe, but the modern hop forward craft beer scene in Europe is, yeah, I would say it's 20, 25 years behind. We're catching up fast though.
Like, I'm sure you could mention easily breweries like Verdun today and Northern Monk are doing the hard job to let the UK be on track, right?
Oh yeah, those guys are flying the flag. Like, some seriously impressive breweries and like competing on a global scale amazingly, to be honest.
Nice. I'm aware back in Italy, where I just said before, I'm coming from. There is a very popular brewery called Crack, which also created some new, I don't want to say technologies, but definitely approach on the hops techniques or adding hops techniques, something related with honey. I don't know if it's a popular thing, if it's just a day shout, or if you know anything about it.
Those guys are absolutely incredible, to be honest. Like, they think so far ahead of a lot of other people. Like, they've got such a clear vision about what they want to do and like how they want to make beer as well. And like, the beers are incredibly precise as well. I think they're really, really beautiful beers. They helped us launch a new hop last year as well, Talus, and yeah, had those guys involved with it, and the beer was absolutely phenomenal.
Okay, before going to asking you what the situation where we are living right now has been for Yakima Chief, I'm pretty curious to say something. It's not. Please take it nicely. It's not any sort of bad questions or anything. But many people in these days need to understand that the reason because some of these big hoppy beers, especially if they are high in ABV or if they are really experimental, as some of the you mentioned before, are maybe having a different price scale from your ordinary IPA out there. Is it because potentially hops are also pretty expensive in these days?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just necessarily that hops are expensive these days. It's hops have always been really expensive for the farms. It's the same cost to grow. It's more than a year-long cycle to work from, hey, this is what we're going to plant, to harvesting. And then there's the cost of all of the machinery, the pelleting, the kilns. And that's before you get into like advanced processes like cryo hops and stuff like that. So like, it's always been really, really expensive. But if you go a fair way back, there is a long history of the growers not necessarily getting the money that they should have done. And the craft beer scene as a whole is way more conscientious than a lot of other industries. It's one of the things that I love about it. And it allows us, certainly, I mean, I can't speak for many of our contemporaries, but it allows us to return like 70% of all profits go straight back to the farmers as well. It's their work. So like we have a guarantee to them that we pay them a fair price for their ingredients and a fair price for their labor. And we're thankful that we've got a lot of these incredible breweries that you've mentioned are happy to pay that kind of a good price so that those guys can invest in their farm, they can invest in their technology. And then I think it's kind of happened at the same time as I don't want to say like the birth of New England IPA, because it's a bit of a hackneyed one, but like the high dry hop dosing, the kind of way the grams per liter are climbing up with the more kind of potent aroma driven beer styles as well. And it's I think it's a bit of both, and like a lot of modern brewers are doing an incredible job at informing the customer as well that alcohol isn't this like there's an entry price, like, oh, that's how much a pint of this costs, so that's how much a can of that costs. It's a big mental challenge, I think, certainly in the UK anyway, where we have this big kind of pint culture. And yeah, thankfully there's a lot of brewers that are doing that hard work so that the customers are prepared to pay a price that means that everyone along the supply chain gets a decent return.
The places that you mentioned before, like the some of the best bars in London or the best bottle shops, definitely already started to educate the consumers, and have been educated by the breweries about how to maintain especially the highest level of hoppy beers, and sometimes people don't realize that yes, you can find the same product or a similar product or a product that aim to be looking or tasting similar to the one that the best brewery is putting out there, even in supermarkets, but having a hoppy beer or extremely hoppy beer, and if even more, a contemporary extremely hoppy beer from a supermarket, which comes from a shelf that is not even refrigerated, and God knows from how long time as well in that shelf, definitely is not going to be the same that you have it in your best craft beer spot in London or in another big city in the world, right? So you have a big role of education as well, I would say.
Yeah, I think that education point of making sure that everything is kept at the best possible standard, I think every single point in the supply chain has that same responsibility, I think. And we built this incredible facility to keep everything it's a giant fridge. We call it a warehouse. It's an enormous fridge. But like it's keeping everything at those temperatures, so everything's at the perfect conditions when it hits the brewers. We know that the brewers are doing that same thing as well, and it's a thing that the independent retail does incredibly well, and it's why I'll fight tooth and nail on behalf of independent retail, kind of keeping those same standards and passing that same kind of education piece onto the customer as well.
Definitely, for sure. Well, you almost replied fully on the comments that we just received, and someone was asking about the sustainability of the hop supply chain. if you want to add anything, please go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sustainability is like, you have a lot of businesses that say sustainability is in our DNA, but like we're farmers, like for want of a better term, making sure that the Yakima Valley is healthy is like, it's paramount to everything. We can't grow the hops that we grow in a bad environment. So we've got, there's a colleague of mine, Levi, he drives our sustainability programs forwards. We've got the largest solar array in Washington is on the roof of our main warehouse. We've got huge amounts of money returning back into clean water sources and things like that, because it really is, the Pacific Northwest is a little ecosystem. It's a little perfect hop growing ecosystem, and it's our responsibility as much as anything else to make sure that it stays this perfect place to grow.
Sure.
In my opinion, the best hops in the world. Not that I'm biased.
Wow, man. Again, the scale of all we're discussing right now, it just, so much over what sometimes people realize is craft beer. But in the same time, it's so much related to local beer, the local, that is an interesting paradox, and very, very nice paradox. I will keep talking about these for hours, but I promise that in this series especially, where we're going to discuss a bit about how the pandemic have impacted businesses. And, that's the main question. How have you been impacted, guys? And in your, for the company that you're working for, if you prefer talking globally as well, go ahead, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been quite interesting to see, because obviously we've got visibility across 3 continents, to see how various countries and various regions, I suppose, have dealt with different aspects of it. Like to have something that's effectively a respiratory transmission disease. Asia it's not new to a lot of Asia, and they've dealt with it in a very precise and calculated manner, and it's showing, because that part of the world is starting to open back up again. You've got, like Australia, New Zealand, these kind of places that just shut. You've got the Prime Minister of New Zealand at a huge barbecue at the weekend, and me looking on very jealously.
Oh yeah.
It's like some places I think have done an incredible job, but the biggest thing certainly for us has been the impact that closure of hospitality has had on the breweries that we work with. I mean, I would imagine it's probably the same conversations you're going to be having with a lot of people on this stream, but from a slightly different perspective. Like seeing draft just disappear, certainly within the UK, and like Belgium, bars being shut in Belgium is huge. It's such a big thing. Beer is so fundamental to Belgian culture. It's very strange for them to not be able to go to bars. But it's just had a huge impact. I mean, like there's a rise of click and collect and bottle shops and home deliveries for lots of small breweries and stuff like that who weren't doing e-commerce before as great, but it's a fraction.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's I think like I said, it's going to be the same kind of vibe with everyone. It's just a huge uncertainty around hospitality that means that they're not able to give the guarantees and give the tap space and the fridge space and the retail space to these breweries, and obviously breweries have to be sustainable for themselves. They have to live within their means as well. So it has a knock-on effect right the way through the supply chain. And if you talk to anyone in malt or yeast, then you'd be having the same conversations as well. But I think as well as that, it's a very strange mentality thing as well. I think as well as like everything was, for want of a better word, everything was pretty crap last year. But the way people have kind of pulled together to try and show some support, things like there's a brewer in London who did a pay it forward campaign as well for their independent retailers and stuff. And like, I love all of this stuff. And it's been like that weird balance of doom and gloom and just real shining hope, and like, these people are doing something incredible to help the scene. These people are doing something incredible to help this retailer or that retailer or this local community. Like there's a couple of projects that we worked on last year that were working with breweries, with local charities as well, to try and help out. One was cleaning the beaches in the Netherlands. One was working with an autistic children's hospital in France. And it's like, it's given us and given breweries and given everyone kind of an opportunity to, like, again, I don't want to be cheesy, but kind of like show a bit of who you are, show a bit of heart. And like, even if once I step outside of business and I go into my personal life, that's where I make my purchasing decisions as well. So yeah, I don't know, it's strange. I'm quite optimistic. I try and look to positives if I can do, but it wasn't easy to do that for a lot of last year. I'll be completely honest.
Hey, again, it in the chats then I started to have back in May last year, the people were completely uninterested to talk about beer at all. They just wanted to say how much they were missing people, how much they were missing the places. And it's funny because in the same time, we were mentioned before about what kind of beers we were going to have. And you said you attract to have, maybe lower ABV. You want to make sure the day after you can still be on calls and having, your online meetings where we can't escape anymore, none of us. So it's fun to see also low ABV beers having, a rise of hop levels. Because back in the days, I remember I was hardly find any below 5% highly hop beers as much as I was looking for it. And then I can get a 2.8% Northern Monk, which is just stunning. And you mentioned table beers before. So hops are saved for now.
Yeah, I think there's just some incredible breweries. I mean, we're very, very spoiled in London to have incredible access to a lot of great breweries, and certainly in East London, some like real phenomenal bottle shops and bars and things like that.
Yeah, again, if I think about what kinds of plans you're going to have, it's fun because if I'm talking with a bar, with a pub, or even a small chain of pubs, they are talking about having plans or trying to have plans for the reopening. With you guys, it's an interesting one because you don't have to just consider the reopening of our on-trade channel. You also have to consider, tell me if I'm wrong, climate change, politics, international relation, again, variations of different markets, and costs of, I don't even know what, water, transport, how mad it could start to become when you, especially maybe with you marketing, you can have a sort of projection in front of you for a couple of years, but logistic for a business of your size and of your with all of the ramification that you have, that's becoming pretty tough, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone that says anything other than it's been tough is kidding themselves, to be honest. It's just it's the working so far ahead is the biggest thing for any agricultural business would say the same thing as well. Everything needs to be done a year in advance. So our farmers are just getting ready to plant the 2021 crop. Like that will be done in about 2 weeks' time. So it's trying to plan and trying to work out with all of the breweries that we work with around the world what their forecasts are going to be, and it's incredibly difficult for those guys to work out what their predictions can be. There's people that I know, like friends of mine in the UK, that haven't brewed this year, and it's crazy. Like people that would brew 2-3 times a week previously, and yeah, they've not brewed. Or a lot of people have taken some incredible opportunities to knock out some brilliant lagers with the weather we've been having recently. But like, it's super difficult for those guys, and like we're, you know, our plans are based on making sure that brewers have absolutely everything that they could need to make the best beers for their customers. And yeah, anything that's uncertain for hospitality knocks on to being an uncertainty for the brewers, which knocks on to being an uncertainty for the entire supply chain, really.
Yeah, but again, people are gonna drink, keep drinking, and this is not even like a matter of question. You know, there's going to be the need of celebrate, the need of, you know, closing your day with joy and happiness. So I'm not really scared about that. I'm more scared how these drinking habits are going to take place and are going to, you know, mutate going forward, because, you know, this is all about, we are the generation which is in between, you know, the I like to think of us about a sort of Instagram in between the TikTokers and the Facebookers. We are that kind of generation which is all about visual, ritual, culture, the way that we dress, what we go, what we like to show, the way that we talk, how much we think this industry is part of what we are, not even what we're doing. It's so incredible, and you know, I'm not even scared, but I can't wait to see if we're going to have the same amount of pubs, the same way to drink. Like, do you have any sort of vision, or even like style of beers that are coming up? What do you have in mind?
I'm very worried about independent pubs. Like that's something that I probably think about every single day. Like, even if it's like, take work out of life as well. Every time I walk past a Red Hand, it's just like, I just want a pint. But I'm quite worried about the sustainability of cask brewing in the UK as well, because it's been decimated in the last year, and it's where I came to beer, was through traditional cask beer in the UK, and Belgian quads. But like, we need independent, free of tie pubs to champion that. But I think there's kind of an incredible opportunity for the breweries that have kind of carved out this incredible local niche, like made themselves part of their local communities, to really work on that as well. Like, I think taproom culture is going to come back with an absolute vengeance the moment it's safe to spend time and like be with each other and drink socially as well. I mean, effectively, the first day it's safe to drink socially, every single person I know will be in a pub.
Oh yeah,
that's without a doubt. You know, but yeah, I think that the kind of the direct thing that we've got ourselves into that situation. Like, we're all buying direct from our favorite breweries at the moment, and I don't see that changing. I just see that changing to being, I'm going to go to Pressure Drop and pick up a case, like, fine, rather than have it delivered. You know, I'm drinking a Beak beer at the moment, and like, I cannot wait to go and visit those guys, because, you know, they popped up outside of my availability to go and visit. You know, I had a kid the year before last now, and it's like gone from having a young baby to being in lockdown for a year. And it's like, I want to go and visit these people. I want to go, and like, beer tourism as well is a big thing for me. Like, I like to go places, and a lot of the places I go to are based on what the beer industry is like, or wine, or spirits and these kind of things, but mostly beer. And I think the resurgence in that is going to be enormous. The moment that travel is a reasonable thing to want again, I think.
Wow.
And I look forward to it.
That's brilliant. Again, this is a lovely, it's a lovely dream for all of us. I think I do have all my best memories related to beers, and I think my wife said to me, "Do you want to marry it in front of our beautiful lambic she proposed in a beautiful lambic bar in Brussels, in Bruges." And like, I'm thinking about so many different memories, and it's just like, wow, okay, I need that again in my life. Yeah, okay, it's brilliant to have a beer with you right now, don't make me wrong, and the one I'm gonna have probably later with the best food that I can cook for myself. But yes, you're right. There is a narration that must take place from where we left it 365 days ago almost. So we need a beer story again. I do have a silly question for you. Have you heard about cold IPA recently?
Yes. Yeah.
What's going on?
So this has been a chat with me and some friends and a couple of colleagues and stuff, like bouncing that one article, probably the same article that everyone's seen around, and like, is it an IPL? Is it a dry hop bock? Is it like? It sounds personally, it sounds very interesting. Sounds like something I would very much enjoy drinking. The initial beer that came to my mind when I read that article was the first batch of Camden IHL, which was phenomenal. Like, it was one of the best beers of that year, and it's something that I drank an obscene amount of in a very short period of time. And hey, if cold IPAs taste like Camden IHL did, then I'm all for them. I'm pro cold IPA, but it's not my favorite name. Let's put it that way.
No, I suggest India Rice Bock or India Rice Lager. I mean, it will be not that easy to say, can I have a pint of IRC bar A? In the same time, wherever it needs to bring more people on board, the people that used to be on board before back on board, I'm on your side. Like, call it whatever you want. Like, you got a t-shirt mentioning a band, which probably there are still people out there discussing if it's more rock, metal, hardcore, punk, or something on that line. Yeah.
All of them depends what day of the week, depends what point in the album.
Does that make them less listenable, enjoyable? Not really. So, well, okay. Look, I knew I was going to love talking with you, and this is just like a confirm of it. And I would love to thank you first for jumping on board. It has been brilliant to talk with you. It has been brilliant to exchange some points of views and visions for our industry. And I wish you and Yakima Chief to thrive and making sure our most favorite breweries won't have any I don't know. I mean, any problem with the hop, or they're gonna always find the hops that they're looking for. Let me put it this way. Hey,
That's what we're here for.
Lovely. And I know I'm gonna see you when all of this madness is gone, in a pub, in a bar. And in the same time, thank you everyone to watching us. It's been beautiful to have you here, and we hope you're going to enjoy the rest of the week of contents. We do have a brilliant lineup of guests, and have a beautiful evening in everyone. Drink your beers and stay safe, and yeah, take care. Thank you again, Luke.
See you soon, man.
Bye-bye.